Welcome you all to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, Hyderabad. Today, as part of first year BA Sociology, we are going to discuss about challenges for social transformation, Unit 14, Environment and Ecological Issues and Sustainability. So let us see what is environment, what is ecological issues, and how they are related, and how to understand the issues and challenges of environment and ecological issues in the 21st century. So if you look at carefully, we are witnessing a kind of a climate change and deforestation. These are the major issues which are challenging the basic idea of life on the earth. So far we are enjoying the natural forestation and the proper climate seasons. So, but unfortunately, over the last 40 years, the very idea of nature is undergoing a radical change. As a students of sociology, all of us are very much aware of the relationship between nature and culture. At one level, some of the scholars they argue that the culture is a reflection of the nature. So therefore, dear friends, so sociology helps us to understand the social causes, impacts and responses to these issues by focusing on human behavior, institutions, development models and power dynamics. So the basic idea here is why there is an ecological crisis, why the environment is undergoing a radical transformation. So what is the role of the human beings? What is the role of the mechanization? And what is the role of the global power dynamics in the shaping of the very idea of the model environment and model ecology? So let us move forward about the basic idea. So if we go into the details, one of the key issues of the environment and ecological is about the climate change. So if you look into carefully, the climate change is causing led to the greenhouse gases, emissions from industrialization, deforestation and agriculture. So let us first of all start with what is climate change. So if you look into carefully, the climate change is an outcome of the uneven temperatures as well as uneven seasons, uneven natural seasons. So therefore, over the last 40 years, we are witnessing the diverse forms of emissions from the which popularly known as the green gas emissions, which are resulted from the process of industrialization. The industrialization has primarily led to the deforestation, and also the application of technology, application of the diverse forms of chemicals, which are also known for polluting the very idea of agriculture. So therefore, dear friends, when we are talking about agriculture, we need to understand the culture of agriculture. So until before the technological interventions, there was a positive relationship between culture and agriculture and climatic seasons. But of late, one can say that there are number of challenges are undergoing, number of issues are, let's say, hampering the very idea of the process of agriculture. So, but the point is, who are the people who are the major victims of the climate change? That means, what is the meaning of the higher levels of temperature? What is the meaning of the lower levels of rainfall? So as all of us are witnessing the decline of rainfall over the last 40 years, and also we have witnessed the uneven increase in the temperatures even in the months of June, July. So therefore, dear friends, who are the major victims of this kind of climate change is one of the major concerns for the students of sociology. So if you look into carefully, one can say that there is a disproportionate impact on the poor, the marginalized and the global south. So when we are talking about the global south, as all of you should understand that the people of Asia, the people of Africa, and in a broader sense the people from the developing countries, they are the major victims of the ongoing climate change. But who are the people who are responsible for the uneven uneven changes in the context of temperatures or in the rainy season. What are the major factors for the climate change? According to most of the developmental scholars, the climate change is an outcome of the higher levels of industrialization, deforestation, which ultimately led to the pollution of the globe. So it primarily led by this very idea of the industrialization process is primarily led by the Britain way back to 18th century, followed by all the developed nations. So, but my dear friends, who are the victims of the climate change? The major victims of climate change are people from the developing nations. Even within the developing nations, who are the people who are significantly affected by the climate change? So scholars argue that the people from the poorer sections of the society, the people who are known as the marginal communities, are the major victims of the climate change. So another important point we need to understand, which is an outcome of the climate change and the ongoing environmental issues, is the deforestation and biodiversity loss. If you look at carefully, the deforestation is driven by the economic development, agriculture and urban expansion. So what is the meaning of the deforestation and biodiversity? If we look into carefully, some 30 years ago, in a country like India, in a country like the major cities used to account for hardly, let's say, 50 lakh population. But now, if you look at carefully, most of the metropolitan cities such as Delhi, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, Bangalore, these are the metropolitan cities which accounts for more than 1 crore of population. But how to accommodate this 1 crore population is one of the major issue. If you look at carefully, the uneven urban expansion is one of the root causes of the environmental crisis. So the point is how to ensure the proper water, how to ensure proper drainage, how to ensure the proper power supply, and how to ensure the basic needs of the people who are living in cities becomes a major challenge for all the governments, both from the perspective of central governments as well as the state government. So therefore, the urban life as such is primarily, let's say, conditioned by the higher levels of the urban expansion. So friends, so what is the important outcome of the deforestation? If you look at carefully, the major outcome of deforestation is the loss of the ecological support. So that means the people who are known as the Adivasis, or in English they are known as the indigenous communities, as well as the farmers in the rural areas, they were known for, let's say, living in a particular comfortable zones. That means they are known for, let's say, living with the proper ecological systems. But unfortunately, over the last 40 years, because of various industrial policies, because of the urban policies, the people both in rural India and urban India, they are witnessing the environmental crisis as well as the ecological issues. So let us see what are the major outcomes, what are the other major issues with reference to the environment and ecology. So one of the major outcome of the environmental crisis is all about pollution. So dear friends, when you look at carefully the levels of pollution, the purity and pollution in the context of the environment, 40 years ago, that is before 1990s, the idea of living was more or less comfortable both in urban areas as well as in rural areas. So the idea of pollution was a completely a new concept for the people of India. But if you look at carefully what is going on in the rural India and what is going on in the urban India. So how far the air, what is the quality of air in the cities? If you look at carefully, in almost all the metropolitan cities as well as the secondary tier cities, the quality of air is day by day declining. That means whatever we are, let's say, what the air is the base, the air is the important feature of the human life. but how far, dear friends, we are enjoying the, let's say, proper air. So, as all of us are witnessing in the newspapers, the government of Delhi, the people of Delhi are witnessing the crisis, ecological crisis, because of higher levels of pollution in the air. So, apart from polluted air, then another major issue which is felt by majority of the people, right, especially in the urban India, this problem is also slowly become an issue in the rural India, is quality of water. So, if you look at the water, water is a natural resource, especially as all of us know that. We always talk about Panchabhutas, that air, water and earth. These are the Panchabhutas, but my dear friends, the water became one of the major sources of pollution. So, there are a number of studies which talks about the pollution, the degrees of pollution with reference to the urban water supply. The similar trend is more or less witnessed in the context of rural India, wherein the water became one of the major sources of pollution. So, now apart from air and water, there is another important source which is also witnessing the higher levels of pollution, is the soil. Because though we are celebrating this very idea of the green revolution, we are celebrating almost 50 years of green revolution, started way back to 1970s by some of the famous scientists, but like M.S. Swaminathan, Hargovind Corona. These are the people who are known for, let's say, implementing the green revolutions. But the point is, what is the outcome? If you look at the Punjab, if you look at the coastal Andhra Pradesh, or if you refer to any coastal areas of any region of India, all these coastal areas, the coastal area agricultural fields have witnessed the soil pollution. So, the point I am trying to highlight is that the blind application of technology has the potential to pollute the soil resources. Similarly, dear friends, when you talk about even the industrialization in urban areas, right, most of the, let's say, industrial houses related to the pharma industries are known for, let's say, polluting the quality of the soil in the particular regions. So, therefore, the environment in the context of late 20th century and first part of 21st century is primarily witnessing the diverse degrees of pollution. So, but what are the implications of this pollution? If you look at carefully, the major impact of pollution can be witnessed in health, agriculture and the ecosystem. So, that means as a human beings, we are not assured of a meaningful, dignified, let's say, proper, healthy life, because we are imposing, these are the external forces which are an outcome of the man-made errors. They are not in the natural outcomes. So, in the name of blind industrialization, in the name of, let's say, expansion of the economy, in the name of the marketization of the pharma industries, my dear friends, the people, the common people to the elite, all of them are witnessing the diverse degrees of pollution. So, therefore, the health has become one of the major sources of the pollution both in rural India as well as in urban India. So, the people of rural India are facing many more problems which are related to agriculture, which are related to ecosystem. So, as I said, the moment, because of the application of green revolution policies, the ecosystems are undergoing a rapid transformation. So, therefore, dear friends, most of the times it is the poorer communities who are the victims of this pollution, which is an outcome of the man-made policies. So, another important point which need to be discussed as a part of the environmental and ecological issues and challenges is the waste management and the up to 20th century and e-waste in the 21st century. So, when you look at carefully, day by day, the process of the consumerism has become part of the modern life. So, especially in the post-liberalization, globalization and privatization, it is the capitalist culture is known for promoting the consumerism, especially with the privatization of especially with the personalization of the smartphones, every individual in India, almost 40% of the people are in a position to carry their smartphones with the data. So therefore, this process, the idea of the individualization of consumer behavior primarily led to this highest level of the electronic waste. So therefore, how to understand the waste? So if you look at carefully, there used to be a kind of a natural system in the context of rural India, wherein what all the food waste, the agriculture, the pest and the different forms of waste, which is an outcome of the human everyday life as well as the animal everyday life, there used to be a process of recycling, which was very much part of the human life before 2000, in a broader sense, before liberalization, privatization and globalization. But what has happened? Now this entire waste is simply, waste became waste. We are unable to recycle the whole, we are unable to recycle the process of waste. But what is the outcome? If you look at carefully, the entire animal kingdom is undergoing the change. The multiple animals, both the micro animals and macro animals, they have become the endangered birds. They became some of the endangered animals. If you look at carefully, the crow used to be part of the everyday human life. In Hinduism, crow has a lot of significance, but unfortunately, because of lack of proper waste management, because of lack of the recycling, now we are witnessing the endangered crows in the context of India. So therefore, I mean to say that we need to celebrate the ecosystem which has the potential to recycle itself, because waste is not waste in a technical sense. Waste is going to be the best for the other creatures. So similarly, the pest becomes one of the important source for agricultural output. But what is happening? So day by day we are using the chemicals. Day by day we are using all the artificial forms which are an outcome of the industries, but we are losing the control over the natural waste management. I think at least in order to retain the spirit of the ecological system and the sustainable environment, I think we need to celebrate the recycling of the waste following the traditional methods of knowledge in the context of Indian society. But over the last 30 years, as I said, the last 30 years we have witnessed the emergence of ICT revolution, information and communication technology revolution. So where for the middle class, the personal computer, laptop, tab and also at least four smartphones, these became part of the household experience. That means almost all the members, starting from the elder to children, everyone is carrying their smartphones. But what is the meaning of these smartphones? As the consumer culture demands, the youth as well as the children, they try to change their smartphones for at least every 1 year, if not 1 year, every 2 years. But how to understand? But what about the used smartphones? What about the used laptops? What about the used computers? Dear friends, unfortunately, at the global level as well as in the context of India, we don't have proper e-waste management system. I think it is the time for Government of India and Government of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh to come up with policies related to the e-waste management protocols, so that they can be recycled for the future purpose. So in a sense, we are going to save the nature. We are going to save the different negative outcomes of the, let's say, the number of outcomes of the e-waste. So another major, now the point is, when you, as students of sociology, we need to understand about one of the important dimensions. Who are the major victims of the lack of proper waste management? Whether are the poorer sections of the society are going to be the victims, or the richest sections of the society. So though everyone is going to be the victim of, let's say, polluted water, polluted air, but when you're talking about the e-waste or any form of waste, it is the poorer sections of the society as well as the rural people are the major victims of lack of proper management related to let's say waste or the traditional waste management mechanisms. So therefore, my dear friends, we also need to understand another important dimension of the ecological as well as environmental issues. So though water is one of the natural resources, but why people all over the world? So this is one of the major cities in South Africa which is deprived of the water facility. Similarly, in the context of India, so the people from starting from the March to almost March to May month, people they do lots of, they have to spend their quality time even just to fetch at least 2 or 3 buckets of water. This is the hardest reality from the perspective of the urban poor. Even the middle classes, they have to spend at least 2 to 3,000 rupees per month only to safeguard the water. Though they are the middle class and upper class, they are capable of paying the amount, but sometimes because of scarcity of water, they are not in a position to even buy the water. So the point is that unlike other let's say material goods, we can't recreate water because water is a natural resource. Because we need to, let's say, retain the spirit of the natural ecological management in order to ensure the proper water to the present generation and future generation. But what is going on? Why there is a water scarcity? Why people both in rural India and urban India are deprived of water? If you look at carefully, dear friends, in the context of, let's say, rural and urban India, the overuse of water became a sad reality. All of us, we remember in the rural India just before some 20 years ago, people used to take bath only with 1 bucket of water. That was the unit of measurement, right? So for every small, the water used to be, let's say, worshipped by the people of India. That's one of the reasons why even now the people of India, they worship all the major rivers, right, like Krishna River, Godavari River, in the form of Pushkaras, right? For every 12 years, all the major rivers of India are worshipped. Why? This is all about, let's say, retaining the spirit of the nature. Because water is a natural resource. So water is considered as a goddess, because without water there is no life. Without water there is no space for human survival. Without water there is no scope for even practicing agriculture. But what is happening in the context of the globe as well as in the context of India? Unfortunately, because of the consumerist culture, because of the technologies which are used in the homes, right? So there is no control over how much water we are using in our own homes when you are taking bath. And also one of the major issues, especially in the context of urban India as well as in rural India, is privatization of water resources. My dear friends, some 30 years ago, water was considered as a public good. From public good to private resource. How come a public resources became a private resources? So this is where we need to understand the political economy of water management. The political economy of water management. One of the professors by name Satyapriya Raut, he has also published a book on the privatization of water in the context of India. So therefore, what we need to understand is that we need to use water in a meaningful manner. Because even now, most of the tribal communities, they walk for minimum 2 kilometers to 4 kilometers just to fetch even 2 buckets of water. This is the saddest reality in India, not only India, in different parts of the world. So similarly, in the context of rural India, during the summer times, people are really deprived of water. So as I said, in the urban India also, water is a major source. So now what happens when water became a scarce good? What happens? So if you look at carefully, the scarcity of water leads to conflicts over access, especially in arid and densely populated regions. So if you look at carefully, when you try to remember the everyday experiences of rural India from the perspective of water, the quarrel between two men is quite common phenomena just to fetch 1 bucket of water. Why? Because they know that when government releases the water, it only releases water for only half an hour or maximum 1 hour. So in that 1 hour, the people of the entire hamlet, the people of the entire village, or people of that particular road, or people of that particular ward in the context of urban India, they are supposed to fetch the water. But dear friends, it's because of huge demand for water that leads to lot of conflicts. Sometimes it leads to major quarrels, even between the two individuals. So just imagine, from two individuals to even two farmers to the villages, two villages to two states to two nations. So my dear friends, if you look at carefully, from 1950s onwards even to 2025, when you look at the history of the water resources as with reference to the rivers, there is always a kind of contestation between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka from the perspective of water. There is always a kind of contestation between India and Pakistan from the perspective of sharing of water resources. Now there is the ongoing issue between India and China from the perspective of construction of major dams in order to stop the water which are flowing as a part of the Brahmaputra river. So the point I am trying to say is that water scarcity leads to the global wars. So far the global wars are happened to control the other nations, to exploit the economic resources. But are we going to witness the global wars of 21st century from the perspective of waters? It's war for water. Just you can't imagine even this kind of word just some 20 years ago. But what is happening is become major question. So that's why, dear friends, when you look at let's say if you look at the states like Rajasthan, where we hardly find any water, these are the regions which are known as desert regions. So in almost all the desert regions, in the case of Rajasthan, some parts of Rajasthan, some parts of Rayalaseema, in the context of Andhra Pradesh, and wherever you find the arid regions, the people of that particular regions, they are deprived of water. Not only the drinking water, they are deprived of not only the water for the cultivation, even they are deprived of the water for use. So therefore, dear friends, the meaning of water has different contestation or different meaning in the context of desert regions as well as in the context of densely populated regions. Take the case of Bangladesh, which is a densely populated country. Take the case of the Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, which are popularly known as BRAOU states. So my dear friends, the water is going to be a major issue in the states which accounts for the large scale populations. So therefore, my dear friends, until unless we manage the water in a much more systematic manner, we are going to witness the water wars in future. So another important issue which need to be discussed is there is also environmental inequality, where the people from the marginal communities are the highest sufferers because of the environmental degradation. So I wish to say that there is environmental racism and environmental classism. So the developed industrial countries, they always try to dominate the developing nations, because they try to use multiple policies, global policies, in order to corner the developing nations. So that's one of the reasons why, dear friends, the people of South Asia in general and people of India in particular, we are victims of the global environmental racism, because all these developed countries, they were known for exploiting the global resources for more than 200 years as a part of the colonial rule. And from 1940s to let's say 2020, they've exploited all the natural resources out of their countries and within their countries. So now they reached one stage, now they are not bothered about, they need not to exploit their natural resources. But now they are arguing that because of India, because of China, because of Pakistan, because of people of Asia and Africa, the entire world is witnessing a kind of the global crisis. So therefore, dear friends, we are talking about the idea of the environment. We need to celebrate the sustainable environmental policies. Then only we are going to assure a proper, a positive future for the coming generations. So therefore, I wish you all the best, and you should learn these lessons in a much more systematic sense, so that we are going to get a comprehensive idea about what is the meaning of environment and ecological dimensions. Thank you very much.